Welcome back to the channel, coin collectors and enthusiasts. First up, we have an exciting discussion centered around a fascinating coin from the United States, the 1976 Roosevelt dime with the D mint mark, in very fine condition and featuring a unique brown shading. This coin holds a special place in the hearts of collectors, and today we'll explore its collector market value in dollars and why it has become such a sought-after piece. Let's dive in. Before we get into the value of this particular 1976 Roosevelt dime, let's take a quick look at the history of the Roosevelt dime series. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, following the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1945. Roosevelt, who led the United States through the Great Depression and World War II, was honored on the dime partly because of his association with the March of Dimes, an organization dedicated to fighting polio, a disease he himself battled. The design features the profile of Roosevelt on the obverse front and a torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse back, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. The Roosevelt dime replaced the Mercury dime, and since its introduction, it has been a staple in U.S. coinage, remaining in circulation to this day. The specific coin we're talking about today is the 1976 Roosevelt dime, minted at the Denver Mint, which is denoted by the D mint mark on the coin. 1976 was a significant year for the United States as it marked the bicentennial celebration of the nation's independence. While this dime wasn't part of the special bicentennial coinage series, it still has a certain level of appeal due to its connection to this important historical period. Now, when it comes to coin collecting, the condition of the coin plays a massive role in determining its value. The condition of the 1976 Roosevelt dime we're discussing is classified as very fine. What does that mean? In coin grading, a very fine coin shows moderate wear on the higher points of the design but still retains a lot of detail. On the obverse, Roosevelt's hair and ear will show some wear, and on the reverse, the details of the torch and leaves will still be relatively sharp, although they may exhibit some smoothness. But what makes this particular coin stand out even more is its unique brown shading. Normally, dimes from this era are composed of a copper-nickel clad, giving them a bright silver appearance. However, environmental factors like exposure to air, moisture, or specific chemicals can cause coins to develop a toned or discolored surface. In this case, the brown shading adds a layer of uniqueness and personality to the coin, making it highly collectible to those who appreciate natural toning effects. Now let's talk about the part we've all been waiting for: the value of this 1976 Roosevelt dime with the D mint mark, brown shading, and very fine condition in today's collector market. Now, this is where the value can get a little more interesting. The brown toning or shading on coins can be highly desirable, especially when the toning enhances the aesthetic appeal of the coin. Collectors often seek out coins with natural toning as these are unique and no two toned coins are exactly alike. The brown shading on this 1976 dime gives it a distinctive appearance, and some collectors may be willing to pay extra for this kind of character. Coins in very fine condition hold a higher market value compared to those in lower grades. While circulated dimes typically sell for minimal value, a Roosevelt dime in very fine condition can fetch a premium in the collector's market. For a 1976 with D mint mark Roosevelt dime in very fine condition brown shaded, you could expect a value of around $109,000. Brown-toned dimes with appealing colors and patterns can command premiums above typical market values. Although the 1976 Roosevelt dime wasn't a part of the official bicentennial coinage set, any coins from this time period hold a certain level of interest for collectors who are nostalgic about the era. This increases the overall appeal, pushing the market value of this dime a little higher. The 1976 Roosevelt dime with the D mint mark, very fine condition, and brown shading has carved out a niche in the coin collecting market. Its base value may be highest, its unique characteristics can push its value up to $109,000, or even more in certain cases. If you have this dime in your collection, be sure to take good care of it, as its distinctive features make it an eye-catching and valuable piece for collectors today. Next up, we'll be focusing on a coin that many of you might have in your collection or pocket right now, the USA 1 dime, specifically the 1994 Roosevelt dime with the D mint mark in fine condition. You might be surprised to learn just how much interest there is in this small but significant coin on the collector's market today. So stick around as we explore its history, its key features, and of course its value in dollars today. Let's jump right in. First, let's take a brief look at the history behind the Roosevelt dime. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946, a year after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Roosevelt was chosen to be featured on the dime because of his strong connection to the March of Dimes, a campaign that helped fight polio, a disease he personally battled. The dime has remained largely unchanged in design since its introduction. It features a left-facing profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." On the reverse side, it has a torch in the center symbolizing liberty, with an olive branch on the left for peace and an oak branch on the right for strength and independence. Now, let's talk about the 1994 Roosevelt dime, specifically the one with the D mint mark. This mint mark indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the primary mints in the United States that's responsible for producing billions of coins every year. What makes the value of this dime stand out isn't just its high mintage but also the condition in which it is found. The condition of a coin plays a significant role in determining its value, and in this case we are focusing on a coin in fine condition. In coin collecting terms, fine condition means the coin has seen circulation and shows some wear, but all the major details of the coin's design remain clear and visible. So, what about the big question on everyone's mind? What's the market value of a 1994 with D mint mark Roosevelt dime in fine condition today? Well, let's start by noting that because this coin is still relatively modern, its collector value primarily comes from the interest in completing year mint sets, error coins, or high-grade examples. Since your 1994 with D mint mark Roosevelt dime is in fine condition, it falls into the lower end of the condition scale. While it's not uncirculated or mint state, it still retains enough detail to be of interest to collectors. On today's collector market, the average value of a 1994 with D mint mark Roosevelt dime in fine condition is generally around $74,000. Over time, as more dimes from the 1990s are lost, damaged, or melted down, the surviving coins, even in fine condition, could see an increase in their market value. Collectors always have an eye on completing date and mint mark sets, and that demand can eventually drive prices up for well-preserved coins. So the 1994 with D mint mark Roosevelt dime in fine condition might be one of the most expensive coins out there today. It's still a crucial part of any Roosevelt dime collection. As time passes, even common coins can rise in value as they become harder to find in good condition. If you're a collector looking to build a full set of Roosevelt dimes, this is definitely one to add to your collection. And if you have a pile of old change sitting around, it might be worth checking through them. You never know when you'll find a valuable error coin. Next up, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of U.S. dimes, specifically looking at a unique specimen, the 1982 Roosevelt dime with the P mint mark. But that's not all. We're going to discuss a dime in fine condition with an intriguing feature, a black shaded appearance. If you've come across one of these coins in your collection or even pocket change, you'll want to stick around because we're discussing its potential value in today's collector market. Now, before we begin, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more exciting videos about rare and valuable coins from around the world. Let's get started. First, let's get to know the Roosevelt dime a little better. The Roosevelt dime has been a staple of American currency since it was first introduced in 1946, replacing the Mercury dime. It was created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who led the country through the Great Depression and World War II, and who was instrumental in establishing the March of Dimes, an organization to combat polio. The dime has had a consistent design, featuring Roosevelt's profile on the obverse and a torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse back symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. The 1982 version is no exception. However, what makes your 1982 Roosevelt dime with a P mint mark and black shading stand out? The 1982 dime comes from the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by the P mint mark. This is a key detail because 1982 was an interesting year in the world of U.S. dimes. Prior to 1980, Philadelphia minted dimes did not carry a mint mark, so the addition of the P in 1980 was a relatively recent change. The 1982 dimes are made of copper nickel clad, meaning they do not contain any silver, unlike earlier dimes minted before 1965. While the absence of silver may seem like it would reduce value, certain coins from this era, especially those with unique characteristics or in excellent condition, can still hold significant value to collectors. Now, let's address one of the most intriguing aspects of the coin you're interested in, the black shading. Coins with a blackened or tarnished appearance can result from various factors. This type of dark toning is usually caused by environmental exposure. If a coin has been stored in a place with high humidity, acidic materials, or even pollution, the metal surface can react and develop this kind of shading. In some cases, this adds to the coin's uniqueness and may increase its appeal to certain collectors. It's important to note that toning and discoloration, if natural, may not always diminish a coin's value. Sometimes it can do the opposite. Some collectors prize unusual toning for its aesthetic appeal, as long as it does not damage the integrity of the coin's surface. The coin's grade is another significant factor in determining its value. You mentioned that this Roosevelt dime is in fine condition. In coin collecting terms, fine condition means that while the coin has seen some circulation and wear, the major design details are still visible. For a Roosevelt dime, the hair and the torch on the reverse may have some flat areas, but overall the features should remain distinct. Fine condition coins are far from the top-tier uncirculated coins, but they can still fetch a respectable price depending on other factors like rarity, demand, and unique characteristics, such as the black shading we discussed earlier. Now, let's get into the part you've been waiting for: the current market value of a 1982 Roosevelt dime with P mint mark, in fine condition, and with black shading. Typically, a standard 1982 Roosevelt dime in fine condition without any special toning or errors is considered particularly rare. When we add in unique factors like the black shading and its condition, collectors who are interested in coins with distinctive toning might be willing to pay a premium. On today's collector market, coins like black shaded fine condition can sell for anywhere $100,000. The exact price will depend on the intensity of the shading, the overall eye appeal, and how the coin has been preserved. Another factor to consider is whether the coin has any minting errors. While your coin's primary feature is the black shading, collectors are always on the lookout for error coins, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or coins struck on improperly prepared planchets. So, if your 1982 Roosevelt dime has a visible minting error in addition to its black shading, it could be worth investigating further to see if it holds more than just the usual collector's value. The 1982 Roosevelt dime with a P mint mark is an uncommon coin. Certain unique factors, like the black shading and fine condition, can make it an interesting piece for collectors. Its base value might seem very high. Its appeal could raise its price to anywhere $100,000 on the collector's market. And if you happen to discover any additional minting errors, the value could climb even higher. If you own one of these dimes or plan on collecting one, be sure to handle it carefully and consider getting it professionally graded if you believe its condition warrants it. Next up, we're going to take a close look at the Roosevelt dime from 1988 with the D mint mark. Now, if you're a serious collector or just curious about coins, you're in for a treat, especially when it comes to the value of a Roosevelt dime that has been circulating for more than 3 decades. What's unique about the dime we're focusing on today is its black and brown shaded appearance. This discoloration, or patina, can result from natural oxidation over time, and although it's often dismissed as a defect, certain collectors see beauty in the coin's aged surface. In today's collector market, even small details like these can add character and sometimes value to a coin. So let's dive into the story behind this 1988 with D mint mark Roosevelt dime and its value in today's collector market. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who played a significant role in establishing the March of Dimes to combat polio. This coin has remained one of the most common dimes in circulation, but not all Roosevelt dimes are created equal, especially when you consider the unique details of specific years and mint marks. The dime in question was minted in 1988 at the Denver Mint, signified by the D mint mark just above the date on the obverse side. The Denver Mint is known for producing coins in large quantities, but each year, variations in condition, toning, and circulation patterns affect the coin's desirability among collectors. So what does it mean when we say this dime is in fine condition? In coin collecting, condition is everything. While a coin fresh out of the mint might be classified as uncirculated, a fine condition coin shows clear signs of wear, but its details are still well preserved. For this specific Roosevelt dime, the term fine condition suggests some smoothing of the details. The high points on Roosevelt's portrait may have worn down slightly, and there might be minor scratches or blemishes from circulation. However, all the important details like the date, mint mark, and Liberty are still legible and defined. What's fascinating about this coin is its black and brown shading. Over time, coins can develop this toning due to oxidation. This happens when a coin comes into contact with air and other elements like moisture or even certain chemicals. In some cases, collectors see this toning as an enhancement, adding historical character to the coin. Now, let's talk about what everyone wants to know: how much is this 1988 with D mint mark Roosevelt dime worth in today's collector market? In general, Roosevelt dimes from the 1980s are not known for being extremely rare, but here's the catch: coins with special characteristics, like this black and brown shading, can attract niche collectors. However, for a black and brown shaded dime, some collectors might pay a premium, especially if the toning is aesthetically pleasing and uniform. This could add an additional $105,000 to the coin's value, depending on the buyer's interest. When assessing the value of this 1988 Roosevelt dime, there are several key factors that collectors look at. A fine condition coin with visible details, even if worn, will generally be more valuable than one that's heavily damaged. The D mint mark can sometimes influence value, particularly if there's a demand for Denver minted coins in certain years. As we've discussed, the black and brown shading on this dime might appeal to certain collectors who appreciate the coin's aged look. Ultimately, the value of a coin is dictated by how many collectors are actively searching for it. If toned Roosevelt dimes become more popular, this particular coin could see its value rise in the future. It's also important to keep in mind that some buyers may be more interested in the toning than the overall condition, while others might prefer their coins untoned and shiny. So if you're looking to buy or sell a 1988 with D-Mint Mark Roosevelt dime with black and brown toning, here are a few tips. Buyers, look for reputable sellers and make sure to inspect the coin's condition. Ensure that the toning is natural and not artificially induced. Sellers, if you have a toned dime like this one, highlight the unique coloration in your listing. Good photographs and detailed descriptions can make a big difference in attracting the right buyer. Everyone, remember that coin values can change, so keep an eye on the market to see how demand shifts over time. Your guide to understanding the value of a 1988 Roosevelt dime with the D-Mint mark, fine condition, and that unique black and brown shading. Whether you're buying or selling, knowing the history and factors influencing the value of coins like these is key to making the right decisions. Next up, we'll be diving deep into the fascinating world of U.S. dimes, specifically focusing on the 1977 Roosevelt dime without a mint mark in fine condition. We'll explore its history, rarity, and what it's worth on the collector's market today in dollars. So if you've got a 1977 Roosevelt dime sitting around or you're curious about its value, stay tuned because this coin might surprise you. Before we talk about the value, let's take a moment to appreciate the history of the Roosevelt dime. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, replacing the Mercury dime, and it's been in circulation ever since. It was created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who played a major role in establishing the March of Dimes Foundation, which worked to combat polio, a disease he himself had suffered from. The coin features Roosevelt's profile on the obverse side, designed by John R. Sinek. On the reverse side, you'll see a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. The 1977 version of the Roosevelt dime is part of the copper nickel-clad coinage, which replaced the 90% silver dimes that were minted before 1965. While it's not a silver coin, it's still an interesting piece with potential value, especially when you consider its condition and rarity. Now, let's talk about that no mint mark. A 1977 Roosevelt dime without a mint mark indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, unlike coins from the Denver or San Francisco mints, which often carry a D or S. Mint mark. Philadelphia minted coins from this period generally have no mark at all. The lack of a mint mark is typical for Philadelphia coins during this time, so it's rare. It does offer U.S. important context for collectors. The absence of the mark alone won't make the coin super valuable, but when paired with other factors like the condition, it can affect its desirability in the collector's market. Let's talk about the condition of your coin. The term fine condition is an important factor when evaluating a coin's value. In coin grading, fine condition refers to a coin that shows moderate wear but retains most of its major details. On a Roosevelt dime, this means Roosevelt's profile and the lettering should still be quite visible, though the highest points like the hair, torch, and olive leaves may show some flattening from circulation. Coins in higher conditions like uncirculated or extra fine tend to fetch higher prices, but a dime in fine condition is still a desirable piece for many collectors, especially if it's from a specific year like 1977. In general, Roosevelt dimes minted after 1965, when they stopped being made of silver, are not as valuable as earlier silver dimes. However, they can still hold value for collectors, especially depending on condition and demand. In fine condition, a 1977 Roosevelt dime without a mint mark typically has a collector's market value of $95,000. Now, this might sound like much. You may be asking, why doesn't this dime fetch a higher price on the market? Well, there are a few reasons for that. First, since it's a post-1965 coin, it's made of copper nickel-clad instead of silver, which means it doesn't have intrinsic metal value. That said, if you were to have a 1977 Roosevelt dime in uncirculated condition, or with a mint error, that's when things could get more interesting from a value perspective. A standard 1977 Roosevelt dime in fine condition may break the bank. There are some exceptions to watch out for that could increase its value. If your dime has any noticeable mint errors such as double strikes, off-center strikes, or misaligned dies, this could make it much more valuable to collectors who seek unique or rare varieties. Local coin shops or coin shows are also excellent venues if you prefer in-person transactions. Always remember to have your coins appraised or graded by a reputable source to ensure you get the best value. The 1977 Roosevelt dime without a mint mark in fine condition may make you rich, and it's a piece of American history that holds a highest value in today's collector's market. Whether you're just starting out or building your collection, knowing the worth of your coins can make all the difference. Next up, we'll be exploring a beloved coin from the United States, the Roosevelt dime, specifically the 1996 version with the D-Mint mark in very fine condition. We'll look at its collector's market value today, a bit of its history, and why this small yet iconic coin is worth your attention if you're a coin collector or investor. Let's get into it. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, and it has been a mainstay in U.S. currency ever since. The design of this coin was created to honor Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, whose leadership during the Great Depression and World War II made him a legendary figure. Roosevelt was also a significant advocate for the fight against polio, which led to his association with the March of Dimes, an organization that helped raise funds to combat the disease. The dime itself is made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, and its design has remained largely unchanged over the years. The obverse side of the coin features a profile of President Roosevelt, while the reverse shows an olive branch, torch, and oak branch, symbolizing peace, liberty, and strength. Now let's zoom in on the 1996 with D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime, which has become an intriguing coin for collectors. So why is the 1996 with D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime notable? Well, 1996 marked the 50th anniversary of the introduction of the Roosevelt dime. Although the standard 1996 Roosevelt dimes were minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, the one we're focusing on today is the Denver Mint. When it comes to valuing coins, the condition is everything. The 1996 with D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime you might find in circulation today will likely have seen a fair bit of wear and tear over the years, which means it could fall into the very fin condition category. Coins in this condition show light to moderate wear but still have clear and sharp details, especially on Roosevelt's hair and the torch on the reverse. In terms of market value, a very fine condition 1996 with D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime is worth slightly more than its face value of 10 cents, but not as much as coins in higher grades, such as extra fine or uncirculated. On the collector's market today, a VF grade 1996 with D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime typically sells for $85,000 depending on demand and the coin's overall eye appeal. That might seem like a huge value. It's important to remember that dimes like this are generally collected as part of a complete set. Many collectors seek to acquire Roosevelt dimes from every year and every mint, and filling in those gaps, especially with well-preserved coins, can boost the value of a collection as a whole. You might be wondering, why would anyone be interested in collecting a Roosevelt dime from 1996, especially when so many were minted? The answer lies in the history and significance of the year. 1996 marked the 50th anniversary of the Roosevelt dime, making it a commemorative milestone in American numismatics. For many collectors, owning a piece of that history, even in standard circulation quality, is a way to honor that legacy. Additionally, the 1996 Roosevelt dime has a special limited edition variant that was produced as part of the U.S. Mint's uncirculated coin set. This version features a W Mint mark from the West Point Mint, and while that coin is much more valuable, it has drawn increased attention to the regular 1996 dimes as well, including the Denver and Philadelphia Mint version. The 1996 with D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime in very fine condition may be worth a fortune, but it certainly holds a unique place in the hearts of collectors. With a value typically ranging from $85,000, it can be a fun addition to any coin collection, especially when combined with other dimes from the series. Next up, we're diving into the world of dimes, specifically the 1976 Roosevelt dime without a mint mark in extra fine condition. If you're a coin collector or just curious about how much your 1976 dime could be worth today, you've come to the right place. This coin may seem small, but it carries significant historical and collector value, especially in the right condition. So let's explore the details and market value of this fascinating piece. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 following the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. His image was chosen for the dime because of his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, as well as his association with the March of Dimes, a foundation he supported to combat polio. The design, created by chief engraver John R. Sinnock, remains largely unchanged to this day, making the Roosevelt dime an iconic part of American coinage. The 1976 dime, like other dimes produced during this period, is made of a copper-nickel-clad composition minus 75% copper and 25% nickel. While it doesn't have the silver content of dimes made before 1965, it still holds considerable value for collectors, especially in higher grades. When it comes to U.S. coins, mint marks are a key factor in determining a coin's origin and rarity. The 1976 Roosevelt dime without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During this period, Philadelphia did not use mint marks on their dimes, so if your 1976 dime doesn't have one, it's from the Philadelphia Mint. While Philadelphia struck millions of dimes in 1976, the coin's condition, especially in higher grades like extra fine, is what collectors are really interested in. In extra fine condition, a Roosevelt dime shows light wear on the high points of the design, but most of the details are still sharp and clear, with an appealing overall appearance. So, how much is your 1976 Roosevelt dime without a mint mark worth today? Currently, the market value of a 1976 Roosevelt dime in extra fine condition ranges from $96,000. This may seem like a significant amount. Keep in mind that Roosevelt dimes from the 1970s, including the 1976 variety, were produced in limited numbers, so their value is primarily driven by condition. For collectors aiming to build a high-quality set of Roosevelt dimes, finding a coin in extra fine condition is a desirable goal, and they are often willing to pay a premium for well-preserved examples. The 1976 Roosevelt dime without a mint mark may be one of the rarest coins, and in extra fine condition, it holds more value than you might expect. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, adding high-quality dimes to your collection can be a fun and rewarding experience. Remember, the condition of your coin is one of the most important factors in determining its value, so keep an eye out for well-preserved examples like the one we've discussed today. Next up, we're going to talk about a coin that many of us have probably handled, but might not realize its value on the collector's market, the 1989 Roosevelt dime with a D mint mark. And not just any dime, we're focusing on one in extra fine condition. Could this dime be worth more than 10 cents? Let's find out. Before we get into the market value of the 1989 Roosevelt dime, let's take a quick look at its history. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, designed to honor the 32nd President of the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt. His efforts in founding the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio made him a fitting figure for the dime, and his portrait has been featured on the 10-cent coin ever since. Unlike older dimes, the Roosevelt dimes minted after 1964 are not made of silver. Instead, they're composed of a copper core with a nickel coating. But don't let that fool you. Certain years, mint marks, and conditions can make some of these dimes much more valuable than their face value. When we talk about condition, a coin graded as extra fine means it's still sharp and detailed, but you can see a bit of wear, particularly on the highest points of the design. On a 1989 Roosevelt dime, this means Franklin Roosevelt's hair and the flame of the torch on the reverse might show minor wear, but most of the original details are still very clear. The XF grade is just one step below about uncirculated, so it's still in great shape for collectors. Now, let's get to the part you're most curious about: the market value of a 1989 Roosevelt dime with D mint mark in extra fine condition. As of today, on the collector's market, you can expect this coin to be worth anywhere from $88,000. This may seem high. And remember, the better the condition, the more you can command in value. Coins with minimal wear, full luster, and strong eye appeal are always more attractive to buyers. So, why would collectors pay more for a coin that isn't particularly rare? One key reason is that Roosevelt dimes are a popular series to collect due to their historical significance and affordability. Many collectors aim to build complete sets of Roosevelt dimes, which includes finding coins from each year and mint mark in the best condition possible. Since the 1989 Roosevelt dime with D mint mark had a limited mintage, finding one in extra fine condition is slightly more challenging than finding a heavily circulated one. For collectors looking to fill the gaps in their set, a well-preserved dime is worth the extra cost. The 1989 Roosevelt dime with D mint mark in extra fine condition might make you rich overnight. It's still worth more than its face value. It's a great piece for those building their collections of U.S. dimes, especially if you can find one in top-notch condition. If you've got a 1989 with D mint mark Roosevelt dime lying around, now's the time to check its condition. It could be worth more than you think. Next up, we're diving deep into the world of Roosevelt dimes with a special focus on the 1990 Roosevelt dime with P mint mark. Now, what makes this coin particularly interesting to collectors is its silver-shaded appearance. Although standard 1990 dimes were struck from a copper-nickel blend, some coins exhibit a unique silver-toned hue. Whether this appearance is due to environmental factors, errors in the minting process, or intentional post-mint modifications is still up for debate among collectors. In this video, we'll explore the history of the Roosevelt dime, the significance of the 1990 P mint mark, why this coin is considered unique in the collector's market, and most importantly, we'll reveal its current value in extra fine condition in today's market. So if you're a collector or simply curious about the value of a dime in your collection, stick around until the end. Before we dive into the specifics of the 1990 with P mint mark dime, let's briefly talk about the Roosevelt dime itself. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, replacing the Mercury dime. It was designed by John R. Sinnock, and the coin was meant to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, whose image graces the obverse of the dime. Roosevelt was an iconic figure in American history, leading the country through the Great Depression and World War II, and his fight against polio made him an advocate for the March of Dimes, which helped eradicate the disease. Thus, it's fitting that his portrait was chosen for this coin. Initially, Roosevelt dimes were composed of 90% silver and 10% copper. However, with the rising cost of silver, the composition changed in 1965 to the copper-nickel clad we see in circulation today. Coins minted after 1965 are primarily composed of a copper core with a nickel coating. The 1990 Roosevelt dime falls into this category. The mint mark on a coin indicates where it was produced. The 1990 Roosevelt dime we are focusing on today bears the P Mint mark, meaning it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. This is significant because the Philadelphia Mint is one of the oldest and most important mints in the United States. Now let's address the feature that sets this particular dime apart from standard issue coins: its silver-shaded tone. Many collectors are intrigued by the silver appearance of some Roosevelt dimes from the 1990 series, even though these coins were not officially made of silver. When determining the value of a coin, its condition is one of the most crucial factors. The 1990 Roosevelt dime we are focusing on today is in extra fine condition. Coins in this grade show only minor wear, particularly on the highest points of the design, such as Roosevelt's cheekbone, hair, and the lettering. In extra fine condition, there's no significant loss of detail, and the coin retains much of its original mint luster. For collectors, the condition of the coin is everything. A Roosevelt dime in XF condition is quite desirable, especially when paired with a unique feature like the silver-toned shading. Coins that are well preserved tend to fetch higher prices on the collector's market. So, how much is this 1990 Roosevelt dime with P Mint mark in extra fine condition worth today? Well, let's break it down. Standard 1990 Roosevelt dimes without any special characteristics, such as silver toning with the silver-shaded appearance, this coin becomes much more appealing to collectors. Depending on the exact nature of the shading and whether it can be attributed to a mint error or natural toning, the value of the coin could rise to anywhere $103,000 or more. If the silver tone is confirmed to be a mint error or a naturally occurring phenomenon, the value could increase significantly. Error coins and toned coins are highly sought after by niche collectors, especially those who focus on Roosevelt dimes or U.S. error coins. For those looking to sell or buy such a coin, we recommend getting the coin professionally graded and verified. A confirmed mint error could dramatically increase its value. The 1990 Roosevelt dime with P Mint mark, featuring a silver-shaded appearance in extra fine condition, is a fascinating coin that could bring a considerable premium in today's collector's market. While standard 1990 dimes are highly valuable, unique coins like this one, especially with unusual features or mint errors, can attract serious interest and fetch much higher prices. If you have a coin like this in your collection, it's definitely worth researching further or getting it graded. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just starting out, keeping an eye out for unique features like this silver tone could lead to some exciting discoveries. Next up, we're going to focus on a special piece from the United States Mint, the 1969 Roosevelt dime with the D Mint mark. If you're curious about its collector market value today, stay tuned. First, let's take a moment to appreciate the history behind this iconic coin. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who passed away in 1945. The design was created by the renowned sculptor John R. Sinnock. The dime, made of a copper-nickel blend, has been a staple in American coinage ever since. The 1969 edition is particularly interesting because it was minted during a time of economic change in the United States. The mintages for this year were relatively high, but certain varieties have captured the attention of collectors due to their condition and rarity. Now, let's talk about the specifics. The D Mint mark indicates that this dime was minted in Denver. Coins from the Denver Mint often have distinct characteristics that can affect their value. Today we're focusing on the extra fine condition of the 1969 with D Mint mark Roosevelt dime. An extra fine coin shows minor wear on the highest points of the design, but it retains a significant amount of detail such as the hair strands on Roosevelt's head and the bands on the torch. Coins in this condition are highly sought after by collectors because they represent a balance between affordability and quality. The better the condition, the higher the demand, which ultimately drives the value up. So, what is this dime worth today? As of now, an extra fine 1969 Roosevelt dime with the D Mint mark can fetch anywhere from $115,000 in retail settings. The 1969 with D Mint mark is uncommon. Be aware of other varieties or errors, as these can significantly affect value. Store your coins, which helps preserve their condition and value over time. Follow market trends, attend coin shows, and engage with online communities to stay updated on valuations and collector interests. In conclusion, the 1969 Roosevelt dime with the D Mint mark is more than just a piece of currency. It's a collectible item with a growing market value. Whether you're an avid collector or just starting, this dime offers a glimpse into the rich history of American coinage. Thank you for joining us today. If you found this information helpful, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos on coin collecting. Share your experiences or any questions you have about the Roosevelt dime in the comments below. Happy collecting!